Hi, I'm Andrew Rodriguez, and welcome to Psycho Bible, babbling about psychology and theology. And I want to do a quick video just explaining how to do the shame-based self-statement exercise. This is an exercise I learned from Joseph Nicolosi Sr. as well as Jr. It's an exercise that we use in both old school reparative therapy and reintegrative therapy to help clients with resolving the shame moment. If you're familiar with the self-state model that I've taught in my videos, such as in this presentation at a conference, the self-states are a way to understand how you're thinking and feeling, behaving, and what is the state in which you're in when you're most vulnerable to some sort of compulsion. And the ideal self-state is the one of assertion. And according to Diana Fosha, a valid self-state is one in which you are feeling and dealing. And so in the self-state of assertion, you're feeling your feelings and you're dealing with your feelings, in particular by sharing about your experiences and your feelings with someone else. So you're being able to express your feelings. But what takes us out of that assertion self-state and into the self-state of shame, which is an invalid self-state because it's one in which you're feeling but not dealing, there will be an experience called a double bind, where you feel like you're feeling something, but if you were to express it, deal with it, address it in some way, share about it with someone, you'll get punished in some way. You'll make things worse. You'll receive no benefit. And so that's the double bind. There's a bind within yourself in that you're feeling something but you're not dealing with it, and there's a bind between you and others in that there's some sort of sense of disconnection. You're not being able to be authentic with them. Whereas in the assertion self-state, that's characterized by the authentic expression of the self. When you're experiencing a double bind, either because someone has shamed you for expressing what you're feeling and showing what you feel, or you anticipate being shamed. It puts you in a state of fight or flight that will ultimately culminate in the shutdown of shame, feeling like I can't be authentic. And if you stay in that state too long, you go into the gray zone, which is more of a mood state. You're neither really feeling your true feelings nor dealing with anything, and then you'll want to act out as a way to deal with things without actually dealing with real feelings. So when I work with my clients, I train them to trace things back to the shame moment and identify the double bind. And one of the main ways we address the double bind in order to get out of the shame state and back into assertion is double looping. There are 3 types of double looping. But in general, double looping is for you to express what you're experiencing, how you're thinking and feeling, especially in relationship to someone else's actions. So to share, when this person does this or when you do this, I feel this. And for the other person to whom you're sharing to reflect back understanding, demonstrating that they understand what you're feeling and experiencing, as well as showing acceptance to you. And top level double looping is to do that with whoever the person may be at the root of the shame moment or the double bind. Now, that may not always be possible or may not be always wise, and so mid-level double looping is to double loop with someone who is outside of the situation, but you still respect. Their opinion of you matters. So there's some degree of risk, but there's a reward when they show that they can understand and accept you. Now, sometimes that person's not available or you don't have someone like that in your life at this time. And so, bare minimum, we want to do at least low-level double looping. And that is to double loop with yourself, which I always remind my clients that, especially my Christian clients, even when you're double looping with yourself, you're really never alone. So God is with you. You can use that as an opportunity to pray and express things to Him. But what does that look like to double loop with yourself? So do some sort of exercise in which you show some sort of understanding for yourself. Usually that helps you gain some insight into what you're feeling and why you feel the way you feel, as well as help yourself accept how you're feeling and accept yourself. despite what you're experiencing. So there could be a variety of ways that you could do that. One of those approaches that I like to teach clients, because it's much shorter than some of the other more advanced ways of like journaling or doing some sort of cognitive restructuring exercise, is just to do the shame-based self-statement exercise. So let's go through it briefly. You can use this shame-based self-statement exercise for any time in which you're feeling ashamed, nervous, anxious, discouraged, etc. Or you can use this exercise when you are facing a situation in which you anticipate experiencing those feelings. So maybe something hasn't quite happened that would cause those feelings, but you're expecting something to happen that will cause those feelings. So the first thing to do is identify this shame-based self-statement. Okay, listen to each word there. This is a shame-based statement. So this is not just an objective observation of your experience, such as saying, I am in pain, or I am single and have no kids, or I currently have no job. Like, yeah, that's a self-statement. It is about yourself, but that's not shame-based. Okay, the shame-based self-statement is an expression of a negative opinion or viewpoint of you, of your identity, your worth, your state in life. So think in those terms. So the shame-based self-statement will have three components. One, it will be a short sentence. It will start with I. So obviously, it's about you. And three, it's present tense. So not I was never loved, or I'm going to fail. Or those aren't shame-based self-statements. It's present tense. So here's some examples. I'm pathetic. I'm not man enough, if you're a male. I'm abandoned. I'm unloved. Now sometimes that may just be an objective observation. I'll grant you that. But a lot of times, even if something is partly true, still usually a bit of an exaggeration or a distortion. Like, you may feel unloved by certain people, but to say you're unloved totally, just without any sort of qualification, there's probably a distortion there. So just a side note. Some other examples. I am nothing. I'm unworthy of love, or I'm unworthy of being treated with respect and dignity. Okay, it's a little longer, but you get the gist. Short sentence, starts with I, it's about you, your worth, and it's present tense. Really have to feel like you're experiencing this right now in the moment. So the next thing you want to do, after you identify the shame-based self-statement, is ask yourself, how true is this? If you can readily see that that shame-based self-statement is false, it wipes away the shame. If part of you, though, believes that it is true, or if you believe it is true to some degree, then you want to ask yourself, how true does it feel? So say from 0, which would be completely false, to 10, completely true. How true does that shame-based self-statement feel to you? And once you ask yourself that and identify how true it feels, then ask yourself, how come it feels true? And this is to help yourself gain some insight. You want to explore your past, your circumstances, your experiences, to identify what are influences in how you think about yourself. What has led you to believe that, say, you are abandoned, that you're unloved, that you're unworthy, that no one loves you at all? And you want to show understanding for that part of you, or the degree to which you believe this is true. Show yourself that it makes sense that you would believe that. This may not totally eliminate the shame, but it may at least reduce it to a more manageable degree. So show some understanding to yourself and some comfort to yourself. Now, one modification I made to this exercise, because Nicolosi just taught just doing that. Identify the shame-based self-statement and show understanding for yourself. But I like to end it with the complete opposite, a reality-based self-statement. And I call this a reality-based self-statement because shame ultimately is a distortion. It's an exaggerated or distorted negative view of yourself, especially in relationship to others. That you don't belong, that you are unworthy of connection, that you're not loved, etc. Shame is a social emotion. So it's a distorted one, though. So once you can identify that, the shame-based self-statement I'm experiencing, it's influenced by my experiences, but really it's not true. This is not totally true about me. Then we want to replace that with something else. So a reality-based self-statement would be something that like experientially this, not just cognitively, but you really are convinced of it. Maybe not to the best degree, but to some degree that this is both true and positive about yourself. So the reality-based self-statement will also have 3 components. It'll be a short sentence. However, you may need to add a qualifier to make it sufficiently believable. So if you just say, "No, I'm strong," or "I'm capable," well, you could probably come up with some examples in which you're not capable of something. So if you need to qualify it, like, sometimes I make mistakes, but I'm growing. Okay, there's a good example of a qualified reality-based self-statement. And once again, it starts with I and it's present tense. So in addition to the other example I gave, some other examples are I am strong. I'm a survivor. Maybe you have been through some tough stuff. Maybe you have been abandoned, but you're surviving. I'm fighting. I deserve love. I'm a dearly loved child of God. Even when you feel like no one else loves you, you can always rest in that one. So when you can identify the reality-based self-statement, repeat that to yourself, especially when you're feeling those same feelings that are a result of the shame-based self-statement come up. Identify the shame-based self-statement, but then bring up the reality-based self-statement. All right? And see over time which one feels more true. So you can learn to do this pretty quickly, really. I try to teach this as a very short exercise that you can do. You don't need to spend long doing it. 5 minutes tops, probably. So give it a shot. Next time you're feeling embarrassed, ashamed, anxious, nervous, if you're anticipating being shamed, if you're feeling discouraged, feeling despair, feeling like you're inferior, that you're a failure, etc. Identify that statement that you're receiving about yourself. Maybe you don't really believe it fully, but either by the way people are treating you or a circumstance, you're getting this negative message about yourself. Do the shame-based self-statement exercise and let me know how it goes. Until next time, please know that Jesus loves you freely, fully, faithfully, and fruitfully. Take care.